Hey,
All
howdy ho,
right.
Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 433. Is this thing on? This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. We're doing it live. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and dashing equally co-host, Ash, the man Thompson. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I've been better. I'm
What?
guessing everybody watching this is feeling that same way.
What, did something happen?
Well, I hear a sports team won, lost, or tied recently. We should probably talk about that.
Okay, we can do that. I think that's why we're here. We'll talk about the game today. We will cover Coach Campbell's post-game presser live. This is going to be an interesting one today. We're going to talk a little bit today because I think the winds are a-changing.
I love the chat already.
The winds
We
are
forced a
a-changing. We forced a font. There you go. There you go, fan man. I love you, brother. All right, we'll do a little round table. We'll take your calls. We got that and a whole lot more. We got a great show lined up. Ash, are you ready to go, my man?
Let's get it on.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
Ooh, Thunder Sea. That's just a little bit too soon, bro. Just a little too soon on that.
Let's put him in a timeout.
Ouch. Okay, a lot to talk about, and I am watching fervently for Coach Campbell to show up for that presser because there are some things that we definitely need to talk about.
I want to hear this one.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I don't want it to sound like the other four.
I'm just gonna say, okay, and I talked about this. I did it in the Twitter, and I know not everybody's on Twitter, and it's the smart people that aren't. To be 100% fair, the thing I talked about was the SOL Lions piece, and we've talked about this a little bit. And it was, if the Lions want to shake the SOL tag, thank you, show me BC. They have to stop doing SOL Lion things. The second half is where to do it, but Lions fans have almost no faith here. The team has to find different results than expected, and we're entering a dangerous place for this staff otherwise. And I think that's 100% the reality of what we're looking at. Now, I had a response to that, and I just want to say this is the other part of it, right? And this was at halftime that this came out. You can't expect immediate across-the-board success. It's always incremental. Hopefully incremental with speed. Things are stalling right now. And without taking the next step, we end up in that SOL space. This is where we are right now. Folks, this enters the whole area of where we start asking, are these the right coaches? There was a significant change supposed to happen on defense this week. What didn't happen on defense was a significant change other than massive injuries stacking up. Ash, you want to disagree? Go ahead.
I do want to disagree with that because the full power defense that they brought to the table today didn't allow a touchdown.
Okay.
It was after they were playing like Chase Lucas at safety that's when Zappe was suddenly able to move the ball with impunity because, he's a third string quarterback, but he was playing practice squad defensive backs today because we decided to get super, super cute. And instead of leaving our last week starters on the roster, we decided to basically bring in the practice squad and healthy scratch the guys who were our second and third best at their position.
So we'll have to agree that the defense was different, but they still lost 20. They still gave up 29 points. They still gave up 29 points.
It wasn't good.
No, it's an improvement over 35.
It was good. I'm just saying it wasn't give up 40 plus to the Seahawks bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it was give up 29 to the Patriots and Bailey Zappe bad.
Well, it was give up 23 to the Patriots with Bailey Zappe bad, which is still bad. Don't get me wrong. But I think the difference between Geno Smith and Bailey Zappe is not, frankly, that big.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay, chat's going hot. We'll get to that very shortly. Dan Campbell is supposed to be up on the what's that thing called? The podium. Pretty quick. Let me.
The way they got shut
Just
up.
making sure that we're all ready for him. Dan Campbell's supposed to be on the podium very shortly. We'll get him up there live because this is going to be it. Don Burr lost for words, bud. I get it. There's plenty to say. Okay, so this team is where it is at this point. The question now has to be about the coaching staff and then the next level you go to after the coaching staff is reassessed, potentially replaced, is to the GM. But it's always the coaching staff that gets the first
Yep.
brunt of it and deserves it right now. I get that Anzarike isn't out there, Pascal isn't out there. I get that, and those are what they are. But these calls that we're getting out of Campbell, they're erratic. They're based in emotion rather than some kind of analytics or in some kind of scheme. These are emotional responses, and I get playing the game from the heart. I get pounding your emotion onto the field, but it's not doing it, man. You also have to be smart. We ask players to be smart, to not take dumb penalties and not play that part of the game with emotion. It's knowing where to apply and to keep the emotions under appropriate control. And I don't think we're getting that from basically the coaches on down to the players. And that heart carried them so well last year, but I think it seems like it's even more. They're doing it like they've gone to the extreme in this kind of place, and it's just not working. It's just not working.
Absolutely. Like we were hoping we were getting a coach that was dealing with analytics and data, and what we've gotten instead is a coach who's done his research on Google.
Oh, that stings. That's
like it just sucks. Like it's tough to watch. And also, I don't love the refs. To the people in the chat, I just, when one of our players commits pass interference, I don't mind when he gets flagged for it.
Yeah. Show me, BC. We are going to be great, not just this year. I love you, brother. That's you know what? That's the kind of thing. That's a fan talking, right? That's somebody who loves the team and isn't going to give up. I mean, that's amazing. Because I'm watching people in the Twitter and everything else. This team will never win. They can't. And it's like, fine, slam the door and leave the room, but just leave the room, right? You're not dragging anybody with you. Just go away. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your opinion. People are all in a different place, and just because you're angry doesn't mean anybody else is going to follow you along. So that's fine. That's fine. Duncan D's Nuts. How you doing? Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Mike K, this is interesting, and I want to talk about this too. Oh, we got Campbell at the podium. Let's get that now.
So excited.
With us so he can come home, so that's good news. Certainly we didn't play good football there. It was not good. It was the worst of the season overall as a team, and that falls on me. You can't play that way, and unless your head coach doesn't have them ready. So that's 100% on me. Questions?
You've been able to count on your offense, pretty much all year. What was it about today? I know you have to see the film, but what did you see or not see from them that was really struggle?
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, we felt like they really didn't. I mean, they did a couple of things, but nothing that we weren't prepared for or hadn't seen. We just could never really get Goff in a rhythm, and so we were doing things that we wanted to do in the run game. It was going very much like we kind of thought it would and hoped it would. We just, when it came time to throw it, we could never get him quite comfortable, and then we end up getting behind and a number of things there, but for different reasons, it was never always one person or one thing. It's protection. It's,
That's a really good take, actually. That
it's just a little stuff. And little stuff is
Yep.
continuing to get us, which is on me. I have not talked to him yet. I'm not.
The biggest swing in this game was in the first half, Craig losing the yardage. You had a chance to go for 50 or quickly after 4th and 9. Was it not having faith in Michael from that distance? Or?
Yeah, I had a yard marker I knew that we needed to get inside of to feel good about it.
He's not going anywhere.
To swing away. Otherwise, take your chances with the offense.
What about Craig's run there? I mean, that's quite a...
We had an MA. Yeah, we had somebody supposed to be blocked on the edge, so we had a mental error there. And so that's why we lost the yardage. The play was a good call. It was a real good call. We had exactly what we wanted.
Just 4th downs in general. I mean, obviously, you got to be aggressive, especially in some of the situations like the first 6 today. Sort of blind that issue. I mean, what did you convert any of those, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it hurts because that's really part of third down, right? You know, you don't convert on third down, then you better do it on fourth. And so we weren't good enough. That's an area we've been pretty good. And, I mean, our that whole, you know, when you're not able to convert those, you're going to struggle offensively, you know. So too many of them, we weren't efficient enough on first down. Now, I did think we got some manageable downs. We couldn't convert them, you know. It was one of those days. Our offense has been pretty steady, you know, played pretty well, and this was the day we didn't do well, and you know, and we really never got in a true rhythm, and we couldn't convert, so we couldn't stay on the field.
Coach, even through some of the tough times, you've always been a motivator and keeping guys engaged. How do you do that at this point, man? You know, coming up a 1-4 start for the bottom. How do you continue to do that for these guys and not lose them out?
Yeah, I mean, look, you be honest with them. You tell them exactly what it is. Like, you know, to me, it's about as bad as it gets. I mean, this is the worst. You know, this is where we're at, and sometimes it's gonna get bad before it gets better. And you know, I believe we hit rock bottom. So now the only place to go is back up. And you know, look, we're gonna get some guys back. I got to look at everything top to bottom. Which I have time to do for the bye. And look, I've seen it too many times. I've been in this league too long as a player and a coach, and I've seen teams that started out rocky and it's doom and gloom, and all of a sudden they win one, and then they win the next one, and then they win the next one. So it's what I told them, and I said, all you got to do is win the first one.
We'll talk about it.
When we come back, everybody's got to look in the mirror over the break. How do you get better individually, just like I'm going to do, and we find a way to win the next one. Just win the next one out of the bye, and then take the next one as it comes. That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
How shocked do you think you're talking about rock bottom here?
Yeah, you don't anticipate that. You don't see that. But I also know, I mean, as bad as it looks, I also know what we're capable of. And look, it's hard to say that when you look at the score today, but we got better defensively. I mean, we played better today than we've played. Now, is it good enough? No, but we did play better. And offensively, we're better than what we just put out there on tape. So, yeah, it's bad. But as a total team here, it's 29-0. So, to this point in the season, it's as bad as it's gotten. So, but I also know, man, as long as you hold on to hope and you believe in things that we're doing, and I'm gonna change some things up. I mean, I'm gonna look at everything and. The way we practice, the way we go about it, you know, do we need to practice longer? Do we need to practice less? Do we put it on pads? Do we not put it, you know, those are all things that I'll be looking at over the next week.
You talked about finishing Amani, and also you said you changed some things up obviously on defense, but that's obviously one of them. But were you happy with how you changed things, specifically first benching Amani?
Yeah, well, there again, I need to look at the tape. But look, we wanted to give Will a try out there. And the only reason Amani was down was that he doesn't do a lot on special teams. Otherwise, he'd have been here and probably would have played some. But that's where you get in a pickle with special teams. So, but yeah, look, you're just trying to build a little bit of trust in that back end and get AJ back up. That's the one thing we know about AJ at a minimum is he's an excellent communicator. He's smart. He's got football intelligence and I know that there's a lot of trust back there with him at nickel, you know, and then we wanted to give Savion a shot back there at safety. So we were just mixing some things up to see if we could breathe a little life back in our defense. And now Will ended up getting hurt, but I thought he was playing pretty good until that point. And look, I told Amani this last week, I said, man, this doesn't mean this is done. I mean, you'd very much be back up. So, but that's what we needed to do. You know,
Rivals back today. What did you see from him?
You know, listen, he's. I mean, we all know what he's about. I mean, he's been wanting to play, and he gave us what he had. You know, and I would say this: he did some real good things, but he was not 100%. You know, and we all appreciate the way he's made and what he's about, and you know, he went in there and mixed it up.
What did you identify as why he struggled so far in this one?
Oh, I don't know, and I would rather not answer that. That's between he and I. We just needed to change some things up.
Dan, you guys have a couple of good tackles. Matthew Judon was able to make a pretty big impact today. What did you see out of that matchup?
Yeah, look, Judon's a good player, and we knew coming into there. We did a significant amount of chipping and nudging to his side, but I didn't necessarily feel like he wrecked the game. There again, when things don't go well in your protection, there's a number of reasons, and it's all encompassing between protection, it's between the backs and the quarterback. And so, but he's a good player, I don't feel like he wore our tackles out or anything like that, but he certainly was, he's a good player. We knew it coming in.
Back to Savion, can you tell us a little bit about who joined him in the ambulance, and also can you tell us anything about the reaction from the team after you let them know that he has his motor skills and is trying to come back with you guys?
Yeah, that was it was his father, and I believe his uncle, and the team was, of course, they were happy to hear that. Everybody was concerned about Savion, so yeah, I mean there was a sigh of relief.
A couple more guys. That's it. Make any excuses. That is a pretty tough thing to deal with at the moment. Is that contributing to
I don't think so. I don't believe that. Just because, I mean, they see it too. Even though it's not their teammate, it's a stop in the game. They're all looking at it. I think it's, I don't think it affects either side, in my opinion. I mean, it's certainly not. It's nothing you want to see. I mean, you don't. That's the worst. But I don't think it affected us like that.
Yeah, a lot's going to be made out of being shut out 29-0 against the third string quarterback making his first career start.
Yep.
I think that's like the next sort of flag mark on the loss for you guys.
Yeah. I get that. I would say this: they had a good game plan for him, which we knew they would. They didn't do anything too exotic, and and they were able to stay ahead of the sticks. They were very efficient. They gave him some easy throws and some things where they could block it up and let him see it and run away from coverage. And you know what? He made those plays. So I thought we would have been a little bit better in that regard, but the kid played good too. He played good. I mean, that's a credit to him. It's a credit to them putting that game plan together. They did well.
Talked about that one game, Goff earlier, just his turnovers, and we talked about that the other day, especially getting one up for 6 again. What happened on that? Just trying to make a play, and I guess without saying he's going to have those.
Yeah, I mean it's and there's really no other say it. It's you just can't allow it. If you're going to run like that, then you better just tuck it and or just have a little bit better feel of where it's coming from. But yeah, I mean it's tell you what, I've never seen anything like it. It's like we turn the ball over, we give up 7 when it happens, and so but it certainly hurts us. So it's got to protect it.
You guys, locker room's open.
All right, thanks, Coach Campbell, for
And
whatever it was.
thank God that's done.
Yeah. Let me this one. This is ticky tacky, and I know it's not, but I can't quite explain it. The Goff fumble, his hand flung that ball forward. Had somebody caught that ball, that's a pass.
Mm-hmm. I haven't rewatched it, but I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was an incompletion.
Okay, thank you, because nobody else talked about that, and I'm like, that could I mean, that feels like it's an incompletion because the hand moved forward, but is there something in the rule about the arm specifically? I don't know the rule exactly, but that it's a completion if somebody catches that, and he did throw that forward with his hand and wrist. So again, doesn't change the whole game or anything like that, but I was questioning. I thought that was an incompletion.
But you know what stops that whole thing from happening? Not being an idiot and going for it on 4th and 9.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit because it did come up during the presser. Someone said, Chris, you were hanging around with Matt for a long time. Seems like you're out fast on MCDC. I'm not out on MCDC. I want to be clear. He just like I'm not out on Hutch. Both of these guys can grow to be greats, right? I mean, look at Belichick, how he did in Cleveland. Now, I'm not saying Campbell necessarily has to go somewhere else to be great, right? But it takes time. We had an absolute bottom feeder roster when this regime started. And if you give somebody a 6-year contract and you tap out on them after a year and a quarter, who are you going to get that's better? And this, I know this is a silly question, but who are you going to get that's an improvement? Who wants that job?
I'm going to throw 3 words at you, though.
Okay.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Understand. But I don't care about throwing away the Ford's money and firing them today. I don't.
Neither do I, but the Fords should.
Well, sure,
what I'm saying. You can't double, triple, quadruple. That's what they did with Patricia. They gave them an extra year. Like, a thing that was said in the Slack today that I actually do kind of believe is true is if you don't give Patricia another year, Stafford probably asks out a year early. We're looking at a team that has either Tua or Herbert right now.
Yeah. But the thing,
like there was
the piece that where I'm looking at is the future, the next move, right? And where's I'll get that done. You're not going to hire the next Sean McVay. You're in competition every year for the best coaches. Mm-hmm. And if you are the most erratic, fire-happy team that cannot hold the coach down and cannot rebuild as an organization and can't give a coach 2 years or 3 years as a coach to build their vision into a team from a bottom-of-the-barrel roster, none of those top talents are going to come to you. And then you're really rolling the dice every time. And you get what we had here this week, right? You get this. And I hate to say it. I'm not out on Campbell. I may be at the end of the season. I'm not a fire Campbell guy right now. But what I'm talking about,
that would be insane.
What I'm talking about here is the narrative. The worm is turning on Dan. The worm is turning. It's always fun. With
you've had enough of that shit. And I just had this feeling of like I was going to be walking around without any pants on.
It's a lot of fun. That's always fun, having that kind of stuff out of your coach, having a character there, having excitement, especially after Patricia, right? But the problem, the big problem is it loses its luster quickly if you don't see the progress. This team was progressing last year. The end of last year, you saw significant progress. We knew it was rookies playing in positions they shouldn't be even playing in on a normal NFL team last year, and we still saw progress. You're like, okay, moving in the right direction. You've got a full offseason now. You've got your draft again with your people in place. The first draft, it wasn't their scouts, right? They just rolled in and had to roll right up to the draft. Okay, whatever. This was the first full year. You have your training camp 100%. You have all your stuff. And then you're doing things, you show up, you've got the best offense in the league after 4 weeks. That's progress. That's real progress after last year. That's absolute 100% progress last year. But from Minnesota to Seattle to New England, I would argue that you're actually stepping backwards.
Yep.
And that's where you get into that SOL space. That's where the shtick, that's where
these nuts
are no longer fun. They're no longer funny. It grinds you, and that's what's happening. We've crossed the precipice into that. There's no game next week for them to recover. All they have now is hopefully fixing up injuries, getting their guys back on the field, retooling that defense to somehow get more than one punt every 2 games and get the offense back to a scoring offense. Because if they can't do those things, I think very, very loudly, fans, the city, the people around this team are going to be calling for Coach Campbell's head at the end of this year, right or wrong.
Yep. I don't think it'll be at the end. Like, I got to be honest with you. If I'm the thing that I think is actually the danger here.
That's when it'll happen,
but I don't think anyone in the building cares about the fans.
Yeah.
Like, to be perfect, well, maybe the Fords at some level, you know what I mean, at the end of the season, but like mid-year, I'm actually significantly more afraid that the things Dan Campbell is doing as our head coach will lose him the locker room, and not on a we don't love Dan Campbell level, on a our coach doesn't know what he's doing level. Because if I'm Josh Reynolds right now, who came up limping at the end of that game, I'm furious that there were not at least like 12 fewer offensive snaps. There is no way that should have gone as long as it did. They called all of their timeouts in the second half to keep the game going when they're down by, 23 at that point? Like, come on, at some point, you have to take your foot off the gas. And if you don't, as you're barreling towards a cliff, the people who are in the car with you are going to have something to say about that.
Yeah. I don't disagree with your take. I think ownership does listen to the fans, because those season ticket sales. I mean, when you have the commissioner of the league telling you about how embarrassing it is for those empty seats, right? And they listen. When those jersey sales aren't there, you make it up because it's all a shared pool. But when you're not pulling your share and you're a billionaire sitting amongst a club of billionaires, you don't want to be the broke ass billionaire in the club. You don't want to have the cheapest house in the freaking neighborhood, the most dilapidated shite hole. And that's all the things that kind of feed into this. Fans are going to be screaming for heads. If this continues like today, fans will be screaming for their heads for the rest of the season. 100%. I don't think they make the move till after the season if they do. And I think this is, I mean, I saw it in the chat. It's nuts that we're talking about this right now, but this is the chapter of the book that is now opened. This is where the Detroit Lions fan base is. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've seen a playoff game. It's been even longer since we've seen a playoff win. There's I would say maybe even a majority of Lions fans who haven't seen a playoff game live in their life. They just don't even know what one looks like, a playoff win live in their life. They don't know what it looks like. And this is getting to a point where it feels like absurdity. It feels like, and nobody, you have all these fans spending money on jerseys, spending their time, spending their effort, putting all this together, and the team just can't dig out of the rut. And you talk about, they need new owners. I'm telling you, you get new owners, they're not going to be in Detroit. You're not going to have the Detroit Lions anymore. You're going to have a something else Lions. And maybe if they keep the name Lions. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is right now, except this team has to turn things around. This team has to do something by the end of this season to show progress from where they were. They're right now. It's the first game of the season, except there's not hope. That's where I feel like I am with the team right now.
Yep. Honestly, you're not wrong. We have watched this show before. We have read this book before. Mm-hmm. We have seen this play before, let's say. And we've watched this incompetent dance of dimwits too many times to not feel like that's what we're watching right now, because I legitimately quit writing about the Lions at about this point in the Patricia era. Just stopped. I quit doing any content. I quit doing stuff for you. You know what I mean? I just stopped. Because I just looked at it and was like, I don't see it. I don't see a plan. And on this one, the thing is, I expected the defense to suck. You know what I mean? Just with all the moves that they made, they did not bring in any high-priced free agents for the defense like they did with wide receiver.
Yep.
They're not paying a bunch of money. They did draft, 6 out of their 8 through rounds 1 to 3 were defensive players. So I can see why they didn't bring in high-priced free agents. They did spend resources, but those are young resources. You expect them to take time to develop. But watching the offense today, you can't. There is a reason nobody in NFL history has missed 6 consecutive 4th down conversions in a game. And that's because after you realize after 2 that you don't got it today, you just start kicking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
How different does this game go if at halftime we have 6 points?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What different mindset do the players enter the third quarter with if they're just down by a little bit? Down by 1 score. They have something that they can hang their hat on, or if just the stupid kicker missed the field goal again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what we got instead was just, okay, we didn't do it.
We paid a guy out there as a kicker to show up and take a roster spot.
Yep.
And we were afraid to use him.
You gotta let him kick
for anything, right? For anything. At that point,
yeah.
I'm thinking maybe you could put an extra DB on the roster at that point, because you're just a mess there. Michael, thanks for the super chat, brother. Really, really appreciate that. How do they use their first 2 rounders next draft will be really telling how ownership feels about them. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I'm with you, and I see Thunder C. Smith says it. We were down on the defense, and we're hopeful for the offense. The defense is a whole nother level of bad. Is a whole nother level of bad than what was expected. The offense up until today was a whole nother level of good than we expected. I see people talking about the inability for Lions to or Goff to be able to get out of the pocket. And we'll take phone calls. Go ahead and give us a call, 248-782-8384, 248-782-8384. We'll take your calls. He showed an ability to avoid sacks all season so far. He's done really, really well. Today was just an absolute tank job by everybody at every position. I mean, everybody played poorly today. And hopefully, I mean, look, to try to find the bright side here, or the upside, everybody has a bad day. God, if you're playing football, you hope everybody's bad days on the same day and then it never happens again, right? I mean,
would be nice.
Wouldn't that be great? Would we be complaining if we tried to kick and miss? Not on a 4th and 9. Not on a 4th and 9. It's contextual, Soccer Wizard.
On 4th and 9, if you don't think you can make the field goal, you punt. like that's not hard.
Yeah.
You know, like what they did was the worst of the 3 options.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like you combine that with that was the play that our left guard who made the Pro Bowl last year and our right tackle, who was probably one of the top 5 right tackles, just decided to not even touch their defender at the same time. So of course Goff does the stupid, spin move we all hate to see because we know it's going somewhere really bad 90% of the time. But it's what happens when he has doesn't even get to his drop before there's pressure. You know what I mean? This is what you get from Jared Goff when you don't protect him at all, is a turnover. And you can say that about most of the quarterbacks in the NFL. And, I've seen people saying, oh, he should have thrown it away. He should have thrown it away. Like, he didn't even get an opportunity to throw it away. And as Chris stated, he actually probably did throw it away. I mean, we'll go back and look at the tape again and see if we're right that this is a tuck rule situation that the refs missed. Wide open possibility. And if I was such a homer for the refs, I wouldn't even be entertaining it right now, to be perfectly blunt.
Hey, caller, what's your name and how much have you had to drink?
What's going on, fellas? It's Mo, and I'm on my 2nd drink.
I'm having sober October, Mo, and I'm like, all I can think of is airplane. I picked the wrong month to quit sniffing glue.
I just want to say, Detroit Lions podcast is a true MVP. For you guys to take your time every Sunday to hit the power button, to turn all this shit on, to talk about this freaking team, you guys are the true MVP. So Sheila needs to give you guys something.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you, Mo. Give it to me, Sheila.
Yep.
Wait, I should have said that different.
Well, that's what it feels like is happening right now, to be perfectly blunt.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
I'm
with you, Chris. I'm not the fire Dan Campbell. I'm still on the MCDC train. I just feel like the blame game is just getting old right now. People blame Goff, people blame the curse of Bobby Lane, people blame. You could just blame any and everybody. And to me, first is Aaron Glenn. This guy has no defensive scheme for a Pop Warner team. I don't care, because you have a 53-man roster. You have defensive players who have made it to the league, which are elite athletes that can do stuff that no regular human being can do. You have NFL players that can execute a defense. So put together a defense. What are you doing during the week where you cannot watch film and just look at? We're far enough in the season where you can look at a team, look at their previous game. This guy is horrible.
Yeah, this I don't even know, right? I don't even know what I'm seeing. It feels like that emotional double down, right? That there's not football sense behind what we're seeing. I just don't know. I don't know how else to put it. It feels like it's an emotional set of decisions that continually get fed by emotions. Go ahead.
I just watched Atlanta come back from 21 down and almost came back, and the Bucks won 21-15. It's like, at what point can we at least stop somebody on 3 and out? It's that age old. if the Lions turn it over, it's an automatic 3 or 7 points for the other team because we can't stop nobody.
Yeah. That's what's really just kind of blowing my mind is the inability to stop anybody. How in the heck is it that we can't find our way to get a team to punt more than once in 2 damn games? I just don't understand. How are you that bad? I knew we were bad on defense,
Right.
but not that bad.
Right. I guarantee you, if you take the same defensive talent and you put them with Belichick, Sean Payton, you put them with any other coach that really takes this game seriously, I guarantee you the Lions will look like a whole different defense.
Yeah. I
don't buy the whole we don't have no talent. You're a freaking NFL player. Do something.
Yeah.
Are they though?
No.
Really?
I think they are. I don't think we're setting them up to succeed.
I don't think Trevor Price is an NFL player. I'm just going to say that.
Okay.
And Chase Lucas is not an NFL safety.
Well,
that's what we had at the end.
Yeah, but that's for a different reason. Nobody said, Lucas, we're starting you at safety, right? That's stop gaps. And the conversation about guys playing different. I mean, some guys switch they switch from cornerback to wide receiver and turn out all right? Some guys can't play the position they're in, but they're still NFL level athletes, right? I mean, it's different from guy to guy to guy to guy. But there's something to be said that you put this roster with different coaches and you get different results. I don't know that it's.
Right.
I don't know. It's hard to really evaluate. But going for it on 4th and 9, I'm not sure. There's another coach in the NFL that does that. And just those kind of decisions, make a difference. They make a big difference for a team. So, I don't know. This is interesting, right?
I think you're the sounding board for the way every Lions fan feels. We don't know what's going on. It's like the way we got our ass kicked today is like huge question mark as to what freaking team is this? It's like, what am I watching? We got our ass kicked on every side of the ball today. I don't understand.
Yeah, we did. And is MCDC too much of a player's coach? That's an interesting question, Bill. In the chat, that's a big one. Hey Mo, I'm going to let you go. We got some other folks that have been trying to call. I want to be able to get them in too. But appreciate you calling. That's a great question. I mean, how would this team be under another coach? And that's definitely a valuable thought experiment.
Still very bad.
Much love to you guys.
You too, man.
MVP of the season.
All right.
DLP.
Thank you, Mo. Appreciate you, brother. We'll see you.
All right.
Mo from the D. All right.
And it's been pointed out to me by the chat that's Bobby Price.
Yeah.
And I am hideously embarrassed by this.
I was going to say something, but I'm like, did something change that I didn't know? I'm going to stay quiet. Hey, caller, what's your name? How much have you had to drink in this my poor decision of a sober October?
Hey guys, this is Alex, formerly of Michigan, currently of North Carolina. Moving around for the job and whatnot, so trying to find illegal streams just to see my boys play. And one beer today, keeping it light.
Yeah.
Keeping it professional. But yeah, I was wondering, it seems to jump out to me, and I'm wondering if this is if you guys think this is as egregious as I do, but it seems to me that it was a really huge overreaction on the coach's part to make Amani and Juju Hughes inactive healthy scratches.
Yes.
Like, I get it if you don't want them to start the game, but I was thinking this, in the first quarter, well before guys started going down like flies, but then it it just made it that much more egregious once you have guys going down. But people that Amani might not be like playing like a starting cornerback right now, but I gotta believe he's playing better than Trevor Price or Bobby Price or whoever the hell that Price guy is. And it's just like I'm just wondering, like, what do you guys think? Is that an overreaction? Or do you think the Dan Campbell thing about they don't play special teams so much or whatever? Do you think that's like a good good reasoning.
I think it's an sorry, Ash, I'm going to jump in. I absolutely think it's right. It's an overreaction. I think the thinking is we're going to really send a message to these players. They're trying to like shock the system, hit the chest paddles and get the heart started again. And it would have been okay had so many injuries not piled up. It would have been a completely different thing, right? And this is one of the things that you kind of worry about when you make some of these, when these guys make their decisions, right? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen, so you make a decision, and it seems to always kick them right in the nuts. Every time they make a decision, it kicks them in the nuts. Ash, am I wrong?
Lately, especially, yeah.
Man, if you don't open the door, nobody can walk through.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I see this one. Like, yeah, bench the guy. You know what I mean? But he is one of your top 4 safeties and one of your top 4 corners, and that's not questionable. The benching the guy sends the message enough. You know what I mean? Like, it does. So if something like this happens, he's still there, and then he gets to have his redemption arc.
Exactly.
Whereas what he gets to do now is bitch about it for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Because he should have been out there and he could have stopped it. And everybody knows he's not wrong.
Yes.
Even if he is wrong, even if he wasn't going to stop anything. You where Amani is at this point.
That's the opportunity you had for the message to get there, to get through, right? Yep. And now it's his chance to show, I heard you, and I'm going to step out, and it was the whole Okuda Will Smith thing, right?
Yep.
Or Will Smith.
Harris.
Harris. I've
we're all
got the
doing
Ash disease. It's the same thing earlier. They said you guys are competing, right? You guys are absolutely competing, and that was the fire for Okuda at that point. It's interesting. It's just, I think, Amani, one of the things that came up in the chat that's absolutely true. Amani's hurt. His back is hurt, and I wonder if there was we're benching you, Amani, and we're letting you heal. You know what I mean? And that's...
Well, I'm wondering why, if that was the case, because I checked the injury report for the week, and he wasn't even listed on the one that I saw. Mm-hmm. So I might have just read it wrong or looked at the wrong thing, but it's like they would have to report that if he actually was injured something, right? You would think they would do it just to give like a public, excuse, like, hey, folks in the media and stuff, he's inactive because he's healing up or whatnot, and then behind closed doors they might tell him like, hey, you know why you're really inactive. But it seems weird that they would not put him as fully healthy and inactive unless he really was healthy. I don't know, it's just weird. It seemed to me too weird that he would like just have a turnaround and all of a sudden he no longer has any injuries this week. We've just been hearing the last couple of weeks how he's dealing with a shoulder and a back and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
They are only legally obligated to report injuries that cause a player to not participate in practice fully.
Okay.
That's the thing with the injury list, is it's only guys who couldn't go all the way through the practices. So that like everybody in the NFL is hurt, man, at this point. Like they're all walking wounded.
Right.
But it's only if you can't do everything in practice that it gets reported. And if they said now that he was out because his back was hurt, that is a huge deal to the NFL in terms of not reporting that injury as something all week. So like that was my initial reaction to it. Is like, why are they throwing these guys under the bus? That's not serving any purpose.
Yep.
But it's covering the team from losing draft picks, basically. Like not good ones. Like they'd be losing like day 3 picks, but teams have been stung for this sort of thing with fines and up to draft pick loss.
Really quick, Chris, you can talk about the Lions' injuries. You have to consider that we're playing the third-string quarterback. Let's keep it real. Bailey Zappe was drafted. He's a drafted quarterback, and he's playing against guys that weren't. Straight up. Yep. I mean, that's what he's playing against. So, not to diminish it, you're not wrong, but let's get that straight. Also, you guys keep messing up the names. It tells you how irrelevant these guys are, unfortunately.
Truth.
So I will say, and caller, I'm going to let you go. Okay, we got some other folks coming in. Thanks so much for calling, bro.
Definitely.
All right. I'm going to say they're not irrelevant as people. They're just not great football players. I think that's the piece that.
It's not even that they're not great football players. They're just not in the. They're like the top 1.3% instead of the top 1.2.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Hey, caller, what's your name, and how much have you had to drink so far?
Hey guys, it's Tyler. Love your show, and no drinking because I would be an alcoholic with this team.
That's why I had to introduce Over October for myself. I have to make sure that I can dig out of this ditch.
See, I'm also a Michigan State fan, so I have double whammies on Saturdays and Sundays, and yeah, that would just be bad. But anyway, so Chris, I know you say you're not out on MCDC yet.
Yep.
I am, and I'm going to try to get through this call without getting so frustrated. I'm out because it almost feels like he doesn't coach the game right. And I've got, I think, 8 or 9 examples. You have the timeout last year against Baltimore with 4th and 19. You have the timeout over in when we were playing at Minnesota when they had the other kick. You had the refusal for them to call a pass in the Pittsburgh game when we tied. You have the timeout the Minnesota week. It almost feels like you're getting these compounded things, right? That MCDC is he's not coaching it right. And it doesn't feel like he's learning from his mistakes. And that's what's frustrating. And it's also frustrating too, that I see a coach that's for my team, that he's not learning from these mistakes with the quote unquote talentless roster that we have. Whereas I can see a coach in Brian Daboll with the Giants, who they don't have a good quarterback. They have a great running back, but he was injured the past 2 years. They don't have this greatest offensive line. They're paying their wide receivers out the wazoo, and their defense isn't all that bad. And guess what? They're 4-1. So why is it that the Giants, with a quote-unquote talentless roster or a subpar talent, they can be 4-1, second probably in the NFC East, and on a chance for him to get a wild card spot, but we give a pass for MCDC in his second year that he's got 4 total wins combined in his tenure. Like, I'm sorry, and after today, after going for it, 0-6, 0-7, you're in the end zone or you're in the red zone 7 times and you come away with 0 points. That's coaching malfeasance. And for me, I'm out on MCDC. Is he a great leader of men? Absolutely. Is he a great person you want to run through? Yes. But when it comes to the NFL, he just ain't playing the game right. And that's what's frustrating.
You know what? This feels like the extroverted version of Jim Caldwell without the 9 wins. Jim Caldwell was the same great leader of men, quiet guy though, right? You didn't really get much. You didn't get anything in the press room or anything. But he couldn't call a game. He blew timeouts. He blew challenges. He just blew games all over the place, right? And didn't learn. Is this the extroverted leader of men? And is this that kind of same sort of space except without the wins? I don't know. I get you. And it's extreme how this coach hasn't seemed to learn. And that's what the development you need to see. You need that development if you're looking at this coach and at a new coach and at a rookie coach, and this development isn't happening. Is it going to be that a switch flips? Why isn't somebody in the booth helping him out? Where's his coach, right? Because we need there has to be something there. Because yep, coach, you said it in the presser. It's on you, but what are you doing about it? It's not. I have to be better. What are you doing about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I agree with you that Dan Campbell kind of feels like an extroverted Jim Caldwell, but the difference is Jim Caldwell had the wins that could mask up these malfeasant, ideas. Let's not get it twisted. Jim Caldwell was 4-23 against teams over 500. So when it came to winning teams, he still had a losing record. Should he have gone? I think so. Who they brought in after them? Absolutely the wrong decision. But he is Jim Caldwell. He's just without the wins. His malfeasance is what's killing this team currently, and that's what's upsetting. Is you're calling the same plays and you're expecting different results. You are the definition of insanity, and if you're not going to change something, you've lost me, and he's only a year and a half into his tenure. I'm sorry.
Yep. No, I think this is a great take. And look, it's okay to be out on him. I'm just my thinking is you cannot fire him. You can be out on him. You need to start putting pieces in to help him, but you just can't fire him until after the season. You can start the moves and start setting the groundwork, but he's here till the end of the year. I just believe that's the way it's going to be.
And every coach has a losing record against winning teams. That's why they're winning teams.
Good point, Ash.
Yeah, and last thing, and I'll let you guys go. For all those people that say, oh, he's here for 6 years, he signed a 6-year contract. Matt Patricia signed a 5-year contract, and he was out in 2.5 years. So if you want a team, now context matters. Yes, Dan Campbell inherited a terrible roster because Matt Patricia jettisoned everything. But the fact remains is that he signed a contract and he was jettisoned before his fulfillment. It is possible and okay for that to happen. Do I agree with you? Yeah, that, who's the next guy going to be? Is that an unknown? Absolutely. That's scary. But if you're doing the same thing and you're not getting the same results, that's insanity. Something needs to change.
Sure.
Great show, guys. I'll let you go. Thank you for letting me on.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you very much.
100%.
All right. The only thing I would say, and it is really about who's the next guy, because how do you employ? You are in competition for talent, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you set the table so that you win the talent competition? That's the only thing where I'm at on this. I'm just.
You offer mega long contracts to guys who basically we'll give you 6 years, but we might fire you in 2 is not a bad sales pitch because you still get paid for those other 4 years.
What other levers do you have?
Honestly,
the levers.
The Detroit Lions have no levers.
Right.
There are no levers to pull as the Detroit Lions. There's not history. There is not talent of roster. There is literally nothing at this point to pull. But the question is, will you have more in a year?
Don't know. But
yeah, that's the thing.
So
if
that's
you
your
believe
gamble,
you will.
This is a great question.
That's a reason to hold on.
This is a great thing, and we should talk about this week, because if you have no levers to pull, do you pull the lever on the slot machine to see who comes up, or do you stand pat? And I'm mixing up my casino metaphors, but do you stand pat and hope your coach develops, right? Because if you stand pat and hope your coach develops, it gives you a little bit more of a lever to pull in the end than just pulling the chain on the. Now I'm all over the place. Hey caller, what's your name and how much have you had to drink so far?
Hi, my name is Steven.
Hi, Steven.
Hi, I just wanted to ask you guys something really fast. Do we feel like it was a lack of drafting for the defensive side of the football? I felt like us moving up to take Jamison Williams, not focusing down on getting a safety and a linebacker has hurt us a lot. How do you feel about that?
You want to go with first, Tash?
Sure. They have drafted defensively. 6 out of their 8 picks in the first 3 rounds have been defensive players. Now, I'll grant you, none of those players have been – actually, no, they did draft a safety. They haven't drafted a linebacker. They drafted 2 defensive tackles. They drafted a corner. Who have I left out? 3 defensive tackles if you count Pascal, and they still can't stop the run. Yeah. So I mean, it's more about the specific players that they've drafted, because they could have taken Christian Barmore instead of Levi Onwuzurike, and he did a real nice job out there today, beating up the Lions offense. But there were off the field issues for that. But are off the field issues worse than injury issues? But there's a whole. I don't know how to feel about that one, to be entirely honest, because they've spent resources and gotten nothing for them.
And I'll tell you where I'm at is I think they've done well with the resources to build out on the offensive side of the ball. And I feel like they had done – you can't build everywhere. You just can't. No, especially with what they were left from a cap perspective, Jamie Collins, Trey Flowers contracts, all that shite on their backs. And you got to draft and no talent on the roster. How do you build from there? Well, you slowly, right? It takes time and incrementally. The fact that the offense after the first 4 games was the number 1 offense in the NFL was very much okay. I know the W's aren't there. I feel good. Yes, we've got to focus on defense. If we had the number 1 defense in the NFL after 4 weeks and number 32 offense, we'd probably have no wins, right? I mean, to be honest, it's unfortunate but true. Or we may be in the same spot, just got here in a different way. You can only do so much, and I think they went for we're going to outscore the opponents this year, and we're going to prove and see what we have in Jared Goff. Let me say see and prove what we have in Jared Goff. That's probably the better order for those words. And then we can evaluate from there.
Right.
And I think from a visual perspective and building up the fans and that kind of stuff, people love offense. They love offense.
Yep.
It's never sexy drafting defense. I mean, people that know football and have a good understanding, but when you score a lot of points, people are all over that. They just love that. I mean, what's the number one? What was it? Sunday night football game. It was the Rams and
the Chiefs.
The Chiefs, yeah, 104,000 points scored. Right. No one remembers the 0-3, 0-3 game. Right. So I think they just took the focus in that direction. I think they felt like they knew what they had in Goff, and I don't think they're too far off in what they thought of Goff. They performed an offense. This week was an absolute shit show. And the offense couldn't get out of their own way. The offense, whether it was schematically from the Patriots, whether it was the injuries we didn't have, a combo of all of the above, the offense just didn't get it this week. And that just made the defense look even worse.
This is the first team in the history of football to get out-coached by Bill Belichick, though, right?
Great point.
Like that's never happened to anybody before.
All right, go ahead, Steven. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, my fault. I just wanted to say, like, I'm worried because to me it seems like to be a defense in the NFL now in a passing league, you got to be able to at least contend and stop the pass. And knowing who our corners were, I expected a safety pick. I see Nakobe Dean out there in Tampa doing great work. I see other safeties all around the league like making their presence felt. And when I saw that we went after another D lineman and we went after another D lineman, and I'm like, well, we still haven't covered our safety holes. I didn't believe in Tracy Walker. I felt like there was just no attention being shown in the right places.
Yeah, I agree. I just think there's a lot of places that need attention. There's fewer places that need attention now. Jay Bermudez, he says it here, he said it in the chat. I mentioned this team in this the Lions can't afford a game where the offense has a bad day simply because the defense is so bad, and I think that's what Bill Belichick noticed. And I think, the offense had a bad day and we really, really saw it. I'll tell you my thinking, and it may happen before the end of the year. I think, barring an absolute continued meltdown and 0 additional wins on this season, I think Dan Campbell remains the head coach, but there will be, and potentially before the end of the season, significant changes on the defensive side of the ball from a coaching perspective. But I honestly, if I'm in the business and I see what this offense can do, and if this offense can bounce back and start performing over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, even if they lose, as a defensive coach, I can come in and I can look like Superman. I know that because all I have to be is the 23rd best defense in the league, and we start winning games, and it's I'm the big change on the one side of the ball that made that happen. I from just a business perspective and a hiring perspective, I think they have an opportunity there. Will that pan out? We'll see. There's a lot of other variables before that we get to that point.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Good luck next week. We got this, man. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Thanks, Steven. All right.
The one other thing with that, though, is if your coach is going into his 3rd year and it is a winner get fired situation, is that the guy you want to go work for? If you have other options.
So this is where things in sports are a little bit different, I think, because if you think you're the guy, you have to think you're the guy.
This is fair.
And I think you're going to, when you see that offense like that and you're the guy coming in for the defense and you believe you're the guy, I don't think you think the coach is getting fired the next year when you make those changes. So
that's fair enough. I think the league is probably about 50-50 on Dan Campbell, though. You know what I mean? Like, there are the guys who are sitting there just going like, man, I love this guy. I hope this works. That's my shot. You know what I mean? And then there's the other guys that are like, I hope Brandon Staley's thing works.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just like working for Belichick, right? Who wants to work for him?
Yep.
About half the league. Hey, caller, what's your name? How much have you had to drink?
My name is Davion. I wish I had some drink, y'all. I like you guys, so I watch you guys after every Lions game. Every time it's pity.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
I know we all see it, but the DB are so garbage. Kirby Joseph, garbage. Warrior, I don't know what's up with him. Like, I'm so, like, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, sometimes I be looking at Aaron, like, sometimes I watch Aaron Glenn and I'm just like, is he coaching? Or does he have, like, the play calling thing over his mouth? Like, what is he even saying? Like, because it doesn't look. Then with Jared Goff, I wasn't surprised that was going to happen to him because I knew Bill Belichick had his card. I watched that Super Bowl and all he did was pressure Jared Goff, and that just told everything up. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you guys think about that? Like, What do you guys think about, like, do you think we should draft more DBs next year? I feel like we have. I feel like we should. We should get rid of all the DBs except, like, even if Okuda, if we have to, because sometimes his body made out of silly string.
That's good. I'll tell you the thing. I think we need new DBs, a lot of them, and safeties. I don't disagree.
Yep.
The problem is it's a 2 to 3 year project for a cornerback. And I don't want to wait that long. I think we have to sign our cornerbacks, angry cornerbacks from other teams that didn't like their coach and want a coach that loves players. I just don't know that drafting a cornerback is the right move for us. I'm with you. We need cornerbacks. I mean, and the other thing is, Jerry, I think he comes back the week after the bye or 1 week later. I have to check. But I think Jerry's going to make an impact. I honestly do at cornerback. He's such a good, brutal, strong kid. He's going to be kicking some wide receivers' asses out there. I just think we're going to have a different kind of teams are going to have to approach us differently when he's on the field. Our Warrior struggles to keep up with speed, right? Jerry's going to knock them on their ass at the line. I mean, he's good. He's just that kind of player. So I think he's going to help a great deal. Losing Tracy Walker was I mean, it's a knife in the back. It's not even a gut punch, right, Ash?
Yeah, 100%. Like that's the thing. This isn't the defense that was supposed to be on the field. Like none of it. You know what I mean? Like our defensive tackles. This is not what we were supposed to be doing. Our linebackers. You heard Shep going like, please guys, don't make me start a 6th round rookie on this team. He can't be the best guy we have, but he is. And it's not like they didn't try. Like when you look at it on the surface, they brought in a former 1st round pick who has 5 years of starting experience in the league, and that guy's on the practice squad. Like they took some shots, you know, like Joseph's not supposed to be on the field at all. It's you know, whatever his name, Price, that guy, that man, whoever, Mr. doesn't matter, isn't supposed to be playing right now either. Chase Lucas isn't supposed to be one of your safeties. You know what I mean? Like it's none of this is supposed to be happening. And I don't really think anyone would be successful as a defensive coordinator with the current group of people that we have there. And it was a conscious decision in the offseason to go into it like this. So, I mean, who made that choice? Is that Brad Holmes or is that the brain trust of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, again, I look at the garbage time roster they started with, and we fought and fought for depth. And you know it, Ash. This is yours, and I keep repeating it. You know, the Bob Quinn Lions downgraded positions and paid too much for the downgrades the whole time they were here. And it was like, look at this, we've got all these depth players and no stars. And then the depth players like Jamie Collins. I mean, Anzalone is better when you take the dead cap hit on Jamie Collins. Think about how crazy that is, right? I mean, just nuts. Did anyone read the lips on Tavai on the sideline? Did you see that?
I did not.
I believe it was Tavai. I just looked up at the last second. He was looking, and he looked at the screen and covered his mouth. So I don't know if he realized that he was saying something or what. But anyway, we downgraded across the board, and we took good talent and turned it into mediocre talent, and then abandoned a bunch of that, and we're left with not even having the depth and that's why these guys that people don't know the names of. I tried to get you to say AJ Price in there just to see if I could inflate him for you and see if I could get you to bite, but it did.
Danny Price.
It's
whatever.
It
doesn't matter.
This is going to be a year of taking the medicine. It really is on the defense. It's going to be a lot of castor oil and.
Yep.
Man, I don't know. I don't have anything for you, caller. I wish I had something better. You're right. We need players.
You have to go on the free agency.
Yeah.
I just don't know how we're going to get them.
I'm hoping this is the year they spend on some free agents because they're going to have cap space.
They can.
And there are some guys out there like if they don't bring in somebody expensive.
That DB.
Yeah. Yep. I think you're right on spending, and this is one of the things. Goff costs you 10 million, 12 million dead cap if he goes if you get rid of him.
You save 20.
That's a starter. It's a starter though.
but you're not going to get better at core QB for cheaper.
Right. All right, hey, caller, we're going to let you go. We got some other people we got to get. Okay. Say again, caller. I think he said Ryan Tannehill's a starter.
Ryan
Tannehill is a starter, and he's a scrub.
Yeah.
And he's higher cap hit than Goff next year, if I remember correctly.
Crazy. And what's Tennessee's record right now?
What scares me most about that is their cap with Tannehill is probably our cap with Goff, which, like, granted, that was pretty nice to watch for a couple of years.
Yeah. All right. Hey, caller, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate the call. We're going to get some other people in here, okay? Thanks for listening, man. All right. Got that going on. Ton of stuff. And appreciate, we need to nail free agency. Little too early to talk draft, but let me tell you guys, on the draft side of the ball, we added Scott Bischoff to the team. You guys are going to love our draft coverage this year. And, hey, maybe we'll get started earlier than we thought. But we've got some real galaxy brains working here. We're going to have a lot of great conversations, a lot of really, really good takes on this stuff. So when it becomes real, when draft talk really does become real, we'll have you covered probably better than just about anybody else in the city. So we got you. All right. Let's see. 248-782-8384. Get a chance to give us a call. We'll get you on the show and talk Lions with you. There's a lot to fix. We've got a good week. A good week to kind of shake this off, breathe, see if we can get through it. I'm not sure. What we will see. What do you do? You're Coach Campbell. What do you do next, Ash?
Honestly, I leave everybody alone for this entire bye week. You know what I mean? I'm just basically like, guys, stop thinking about football for 1 week. Get out, go live for a week, and we will come back next Monday and we will start the path of figuring this out together. You know what I mean? And I gotta be honest with you, I know it is almost impossible for the type of personality that takes that job on.
Yeah.
But I think they need to do that too, to be perfectly blunt, because right now they're in it. You know what I mean? They're in it and they are just swinging haymakers at their opponent as hard as they can. And they need to just take a step back and reevaluate, because what they've built to this point isn't what they have anymore. Like, particularly on that defensive roster, like the things that they were going to try to do when training camp started, they can't do that. Like, that needs to go away. Whatever their thought processes were at that point, they don't have the horses anymore that they had at that point, and they need to figure out how to win with these guys. So, like, Brad Holmes needs to spend this week figuring out what they're going to do with because there are guys who are not on rosters right now that are better than the players we have on defense. Like, just straight up, there's guys on practice squads. They need to scour the NFL and flush what we have, because what we have is bad, and make some moves. You know what I mean? Like, if people are playing this poorly and other people we have aren't better, we need new people.
Yep. Hey, caller, what's your name? How much have you had to drink?
My name is Greg, a.k.a. 9 Drinks.
9 Drinks. How you doing?
I've had I've had 6 Coors Lights, because my wife's seen they were on sale. She didn't buy me Bud Light. So,
what do you got for us, buddy?
Water piss. Hey, I want to know what you guys think after the bye. Is this Lions team going to look like a whole new team? I really think it's going to. But I think they're going to get rid of some players, put some of the players that are on injury into our lineup. And do you think our Lions team can come out and beat Dallas?
No.
Today, no. Dalton Schultz looks like he got injured. We'll see. I had a lot more hope 2 weeks ago. But look, if the 35 points a game offense shows up and some semblance of a decent defense shows up, yeah, I think the potential's there. I think the team can beat Dallas. I think, to be fair, on the whole any given Sunday thing, they're NFL players. They can win any game. They could probably beat any team this season. Will they, though? That's the real difficult.
Yeah.
This is probably the best shot that they have at beating Dallas. Getting healthy players back because of the bye week, right?
Yep.
Having a chance to retool, rethink, rework. Change things up so that it's stuff that's not on tape, right? Those are all the things that are in and then being angry for where they are and where they're at. I think those are all things that are in their favor. But what we've seen the last 3 games in particular is that's a big wall to jump. That's a whole lot to overcome to beat the Cowboys right now.
I think this Dallas game is going to show us what we're getting from this team.
Before I get off here,
yep.
Will you guys, if we beat Dallas, will Chris put his go-go lights on and Ash be in that bikini again?
We'll work something out, man. We'll figure it out, Nine Drakes. Thank you for coming in every week, dude. We appreciate you.
Thanks for taking my call.
All right, we'll see you. Oh, man, that's great. Love the regulars in the chat. It's so fun.
Yep. Absolutely. Even when they're giving me the gears because I said something stupid, I still love these guys.
Oh,
but
man.
Alec Price is a terrible cornerback. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Jameson Hennessy, why don't we ever play the Cowboys in Detroit, brother? I don't know. When I think the Cowboys, though, no one will ever take this away, is the Cowboys in the 90s. The Lions freaking owned them, and they were in their heyday. They were the Super Bowl Cowboys. It's like the only thing, the last time they were relevant, and the Lions used to ball drag them all the time. It was great.
That's the last playoff win.
Fleeced them in the Roy Williams trade. Oh God, it was great years, all those times. But now it's that's one of the reasons why when Sandman got that suite the year before last. And we were all up there and we played Dallas, and it was just loaded with Dallas fans there in Ford Field. It hurt. It really hurt my very, very soul.
Yep.
Oh,
man. The thing is, like, what we get against the Cowboys is going to tell us what we're going to get for the rest of the season. Yep. Because if my fears come to fruition and he just lost the locker room by calling a bunch of timeouts and airing it out down 29-0, we are not going to get anything pleasant against Dallas. You know what I mean? Like, that'll be it. I think this game shows you. If after the bye week they come out and it is like Dallas has walked into basically a bunch of Hornets riding Bears, then we're back in a good place, win or lose on that one. You know what I mean? Like, if it is even back to being a close game that we lose by a score, I'm okay with that, unless it's like 9-6.
Right.
You know, it's really gonna give us an indicator of whether anything that I have said is even remotely relevant, or if I'm just talking out of my butt.
I have an idea for a video this week. This game is gonna change it up a lot, but I think it's still gonna make sense. You guys will see it this week. It's we don't have a show this week. Just have to let everyone know. I have to be out of town. I have a grueling week for work, but I'm going to try to put something together. We also have some stuff coming from Scott and Jeff this week, some good videos. So we will have content for you. Do not worry about that. Huggy Bear, Chris, do you think the Lions made a mistake in hiring Campbell before Holmes? I don't, because I think Holmes accepted the job knowing Campbell was the guy. I don't know that anybody said, "Oh, pound sand because you hired your coach, I'm not going to work there." There's no data or anything to point that way. So I'm fine with it. But what I know it does do is give Holmes leeway that if he's not the guy, that's okay. And we'll move him on and we'll get Holmes' coach in place. And one of the things that quietly has been happening, and this isn't scheming or anything else behind the scenes, but Holmes has been making good personnel moves. He's been putting some good people in place in the front office and so on. Dan's moves with his coaches, hey, great. It's an interesting thing. You give him the faith. You trust your people. You allow them to work and see what they can produce. And if they don't produce, right, eventually you have to make changes and you bring someone else in. I really trust Holmes when it gets to time to hire a coach. I feel like he's going to be able to pull somebody. And I think that actually gives the Lions another lever, the Brad Holmes lever. How much is he going to hold on to Goff? That's going to be an interesting one. But your point is one I was making for a long time. That's fine. Throw Goff out the door. but you better have somebody better day one that he's gone. And if you don't,
which if we're drafting first overall, we might.
Like
I think that's the only way home that they move on from Dan Campbell realistically. As much as I'll talk about maybe they should, I don't think they will.
Yeah. All right, hey, really quick, I want to tell people we do this once a show. Please hit the like button. We love it when you do that. It supports us, helps other people find us, and gets our stuff out there, and just helps us, the whole algorithm thing that YouTube puts together. If you're here, hit the like button, and for the subscribe button too. We really appreciate you guys and gals when you hit the subscribe button. That also helps us. Jay Bermudez, thank you for your subscription. Appreciate you for doing that. And Dave, you've been super chatting all day. Dave Griffiths, thank you again.
Yes, sir.
But the likes and subscribes really mean a lot. So thank you all who do that, and helps keep us rock and roll, and helps other people find this content. And it's free. It's free and easy. All right. Let's see. Machia, I think I have a hard time with that. And I apologize. I didn't like last after game press conference with MCDC told everyone the offense didn't do enough because of one mistake. How would you feel to hear that when you played your ass off in offense? I will speculate. And this one I will say I have no internal information on. I will speculate that before he went out there and did that, he told Goff that he was going to say that. And it was to put up a little shield and take a little focus off of Aaron Glenn, because when, it's like you want to make jokes about Savion Smith right now. Is that the thing to do? To kick a man when he's down? No. That's not what a good leader does. You don't slam people publicly when they're down. That's not how you build, trust amongst the people you work with. So I think that was kind of a setup. I wouldn't take that too seriously or badly.
He slams Jared Goff when they score 40 plus points because he knows Jared Goff is a big boy and he can handle it.
Yeah.
That's the truth. After in the press conference after the game last week, that's who he was talking about immediately. Was Jared Goff needs to not throw a pick six.
Yep.
Yep. Which is factually correct. Jared Goff needs to stop turning the ball over so much. But that's not why they lost to Seattle.
Yep.
This week what is he going to do? Is he going to slam our left guard for coming back and not being able to play as well as he previously had because he was injured for so many weeks?
Yep.
That's
got one here. So you guys saying that the Hard Knock stuff is worn off. I was saying this after the kneecaps thing, right? And if you go back, I think it was the podcast the week after the whole kneecaps part. I said this is fun and this is exciting, but if they don't win, this is going to get cringe fast. And we're crossing a threshold right here. And this coaching staff needs wins because they're going to have a hard time in the public space, in the PR space, if they don't pull a W soon.
They have been absolute media darlings to this point because of how close the games have been and how much scoring there has been. And a lot of guys will talk without actually watching any of the games. You know what I mean? Just like straight up, a lot of the NFL pundits do not watch every single game. They're just looking at, well, this is really exciting offense, blah, 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 blah. And you get ones who do that are also high on the Lions right now until this week. And I'm curious how they're going to go after this. You know what I mean? Like, is it just going to immediately be a snap back to, well, I guess they're just the Lions. They're not the new Lions. But like, nothing changed this week. I literally at the beginning of the season said 2-3 at the bye was what a reasonable person should expect this team to be able to pull off. And they're one behind that. And if you're telling me an NFL team can't steal one more win to get to the 6 that I think they need to get to by the end of the year, I'm sorry, but I don't know what league you've been watching for the last 30 years, but it's not the same one I've been watching. You know what I mean? Teams beat teams they shouldn't beat all the time. And yes, the Lions probably dropped a couple of their opportunities to do that already. But like we are at approximately where we reasonably should have expected to be at.
I think so. I think you're right. Campbell doesn't have a defense to save his life. That's absolutely true. Defense doesn't get a bye. They've been a bye since the season started. That's okay. Look, here's how you know how it's getting bad. People who claim about their good reporting and their top reporting and they're in the building every day, when they turn into fans and start saying things like joke franchise and putting out content like that, tweeting stuff like that, they've completely abdicated their press credentials and are whining fans at that point. That's how you know how bad it's gotten.
Yeah.
So
well, that's the thing is like, but also like at a certain point, we can't be drinking the Kool-Aid at 1-8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're not 1-8. We're 1-4 when we should probably be 2-3.
Yeah,
like we're not. The sky has not fallen, despite
yet.
the last 2 weeks not looking great.
Yeah. It's sad when the press is not balanced, David. They should be balanced, not emotional. Honest is fine, but there's a different role, right? Otherwise, just open up the press room to fans, which I think they have in a way. All right, let's see. Anything else that we want to talk about, Ash? Anything we want to cover with this team?
Well, honestly, like I'm not sure how much there really is left to say. Like, they are not a good team, but we knew they were not a good team. So much like you shouldn't take a guy you think is a super athlete and move him up your draft board when he does really well at the combine because he's a super athlete. They're a bad team. We expected them to be a bad team. If your opinion has greatly changed, like we thought the offense would be good and the defense would be bad. And on the balance of 5 games, the offense has been good and the defense has been bad. So what exactly is surprising other than that one less of the 1-score games went our way than we were hoping that it would go? And I think going into the bye week, that is probably kind of the way that we should be thinking about this right now. Like, today sucked. Today was one of the worst efforts I have ever seen from the Detroit Lions. And like, I'm a lifelong fan, essentially. And I'm an old man, as you can tell by the gray in this beard. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the bad ones. Like, and we've seen 2 of the really bad ones come from this brain trust.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like last year, Seattle, this I would say that this is on par with what we saw that day in terms of how much of a chance the team had to win. The Patriots just did us a giant favor by running the ball for most of the second half, when they could have been lighting up our secondary to record levels. Like, Tom Brady scores 75 today. That Patriots team, with that attitude that he forced them to have, they never stop scoring and we still get shut out.
Yeah.
You know? But let's spin some positivity on this. There are a bunch of guys going to be coming back from injuries that are better than the players who are on the field right now. The offense, like you switched DJ Chark and James Williams as an example, that's going to be happening soon. Like, there are still reasons to watch this and have some level of hope that things will get better. As I've said, there are guys on other practice squads who are better than players that are on our 53-man roster right now, this second. Like, there are moves that can be made, and Aaron Glenn isn't doing things that are so insane nobody could possibly come in and play corner. Like, there are literally like 4 different jobs you can have as a corner in most schemes. And if we're not dumbing it down to that level at this point, then we got bigger problems than talent. Because that's like, it should not be harder than that for those guys at this point.
Yeah. Kurt Pittman, it's not about balance. You're asking to be emotionless and analytical. Well, that's kind of what news is. Opinion, editorial, that's different. That's where you can do all that kind of stuff. But if you're considered a beat writer, you can write an editorial. That's fine, an opinion piece. But it should be clearly labeled, and that's not when you don't do that. When you fail to do that, and your news is less than that. Like, Justin Rogers is perfect. I don't want to say perfect, but he is one of the very, very best at creating.
He's so
coverage.
dreamy.
He doesn't tell you what to think. He tells you and lets you take and make your own assessments based on the reality and the facts that are out there. So I just really, really appreciate that kind, like real journalism versus this kind of mixed bag of here's why you should think that way, or here's what you should think. You know, that kind of thing is just redonkulous. It's not news. And it's from sports all the way to everything else. So it's just a mess. Let's see. What's due? Dave, Jerry's obviously coming back immediately after the bye because they need him. I have to look and say they activated the clock on him. What does that mean? Does he have to wait? Is it 3 weeks or is it 2 weeks before he can come back? Is that up to them?
I think it's a maximum amount before he has to come back on that one.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like, they could activate him and he could play that week, but he has to play by a certain period or he's on the 53.
Yep.
Not playing.
Yep.
if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Or he's IR for the year. That's the three ways that could go.
Yeah. It's not where we are with internet-based journalism. Yeah, and that's probably the problem. Probably shouldn't gatekeep and say you're one of the few that get it right and should be retrusted as news if that's what you're at, but that's that.
Yeah, then why are we calling it journalism if it's not journalism? That's all I'm going to say on that, and I have no axe to grind with anyone because I'm not getting paid for this either.
Thank you, Alex Y, for the super chat. Speaking of. All right, let's see. Oh, here we go, Jameson. Ash is right. I was wrong. There you go. Ash, that's a good way for you to go out, right?
100%. Not talking anymore.
Ash is going out. There we go. All right, with that, we are going to call it a show. Hey, really feel bad for everybody, ourselves included, for what we saw today on the field. This could be, remember this is going to be a pivotal game for the Detroit Lions and the franchise. And however the rest of the year goes, I think it's a good time just to keep this one pinned in your brain. And what happens after this is going to be very, very important, and it's going to probably define what the rest of the year is going to be. I maybe I'm wrong, Ash, but I think this is going to be something we remember and we see that has a real effect on where this team goes.
100% agree. The effort that they give coming out of the bye week will be indicative of like, if this sucks, we're done.
Yeah. They come out like today, it's going to be a bad deal.
Yep.
All right. Oh, for the Goff haters, ask the Broncos fans how Russell's working out. Such a great take, Mo. Remember, the show needs your involvement. Don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. You can donate anything. We'll take it. We love it, and it helps support the show. I mean, it's all those microtransactions that help us kind of build up to do all the things we do. But if you add yourself in at $5 a month tier, you get, or better, you get access to our Slack chat, which is the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet. It is a spectacular place to go. And it's not just Lions. I mean, there's barbecue, there's booze, there's home improvement. There's so many chats, hundreds of people hanging out talking, and they're good people. And it's a really, really good place to go and find like-minded people and good discussion that's not like the comments you see in other places. People treat each other with respect most of the time. We're getting Davis all over this. Night Ash, sweet ref dreams.
Yep.
Oh man, that's good. So
the referees did their job today better than the Detroit Lions did.
Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Except for that incomplete pass, potentially. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast. DET Lions Podcast. Get on over there. Give us a follow. We appreciate when you do that. We love you for talking and hanging out with us on the thing. You get to see us pants free, too. That's a great place to do it. Let's see. Call us on Skype at Detroit Lions Podcast. All one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. And it's 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. And Mark Jacobs, have a mouthful of
these nuts.
And maybe 2, 3, 4. All right, be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com, subscribe to the podcast so we can pop up in your mouth automatically like we do with Mark Jacobs with
these nuts.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.